Hello and welcome to this tutorial from the FAL ICT Academy video library. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to insert and calculate dates and time inside a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Now, first, what you need to understand is that Excel, we have different date formats that we need to understand. Now, for example, by default, when you install an operating system, the default date format mostly is US. So how do you know that you are using the UK date format or the US date format? So you have to go to control panel. For example, if I click start here and then I go to the control panel, I'm using Windows 7, but if you're using Windows XP, it's almost the same steps, but just go to control panel, click start, go to control panel. So I will change this to category, from category view to large icons, and then I will look for region and language. So from here, by just looking at here, I will see that I'm using the United States date format. So that's the short date is first you have the month, the day, and then you have the year. Are you getting that? You have the day, you have, or rather you have the month, the day, and the year. So that means if you're using the short date format. All right, so if you want to change it, you can always change it. For example, if I want to use a United Kingdom date format, I can use that. So when I choose the UK date format, you see what will happen. That one starts from the day, the month, and then the year. So I'm going to be using the US date format, and probably your computer is also the US date format. So the other thing that you also need to understand is Excel's date starts from 1st of January or January 1st, because we are using the US date format, January 1st, 1900. So this is where Excel's date start, because Excel has what is called a date time code. So this date has a value attached to it. So that's why we are able to calculate dates. This date has a value of 1. So how will you see that value? Click on the cell containing the date and then you click on the comma button within the number group. That will give you a value of 1. So this shows you that Excel's date starts from this actual date, that is 1st of January or January 1st, 1900. Now this thing is unnecessary, but you have to know that each date has a value. Now let me just undo that. Okay, now the other thing that you have to know also, that whenever you insert a date, the date have to automatically align to the right hand side. As you can see, this date is on the right hand side of the cell. If it goes to the left hand side, you will not be able to calculate it. Take note of that. Now we can insert date manually. For example, today's date is 24th of June, so I can type 06 first. Remember, we are using the UK date, the US date format. If at all I was using the UK date format, then I'll have to say 24th 06 2016. But I'm using the US date format, so I have to start with the month and then I type 24 slash and then I type 2016. So that is correct one. But imagine I say 24th 06 and then I type 2016 and I press enter. You see what happens? It will align to the left hand side. So Excel will treat that as text. Please take note of that. Now the other way to insert date is by using the date function. So when I type equal to date and I open the bracket, now as you can see, the formula syntax will appear. First it will ask me to enter the year, so I'll type 2016 comma the month 06 comma and then the day 24th, and I close the bracket and press the enter key. So that should give me the proper format. I recommend using this method, right? Because this one will format it properly. No matter whether you are using the UK date format, you don't need to consider all those ones when you use the date format. So I recommend using the date function. So all you need to give the date function is the year, the month, and then the day, and it will properly format it for you, right? So the other way is by using the keyboard shortcut. So if I press Control and semicolon on your keyboard, this will give me the current date of my computer. If I press Control and semicolon, it will give me the current date of my computer. So that's the current date. So if your computer's date is not accurate, it will give you a wrong date, right? So I can also use another method. If I say equals to today and I open and close the bracket and I press enter, this one also will give me the current date of my computer, right? So all these dates that I have entered, the only one, because in Excel we have two kinds of date, right? Some dates are static and some other ones are dynamic, so we call them fixed date and automatic date. Fixed date, you only have them when you use the keyboard shortcut or you type it manually, you have a fixed date. But the one that we use a function, for example this one we use a function, this one is going to be an automatic date. When I save this spreadsheet and come back tomorrow or 10 years in the future, you will see that this date will keep changing every day as time goes by. But the one that I use keyboard shortcut and the one that I type manually, those ones are going to be fixed date. They will never change, right? So now let's look at time. If I want to insert time, simply I can type it manually. Let's say I say 8:30, then I leave space. If I want AM or PM, I have to indicate it, so I can type A, for example, for AM, and I press enter. So I have to leave space first after typing the time. Then when I hit enter, it will give me 8:30 AM. If I want 8:30 PM, then what I need to do is to type 8:30 and then I type P and press enter. That will give me 8 PM. I can also use the time function. I can type equals to time and then it will ask me to enter the hour. The hour, I can say, in this case, if you're using that one, you have to make sure that you use the 24-hour time. Time equals to time, then you can say 8 in the 20-hour in the 24-hour time. You will see that that's going to be 20. So I would say comma, and then the minute I can say 30 and then comma, and I can put any second and then I press enter. So this will give me 8:30 PM because I use 20, right? So the keyboard shortcut, if at all you want the computer to give you the current date of your the current time of your computer, you have to press Control Shift and semicolon. Control Shift and semicolon will give you the current time of your computer. Are you getting that? Then I press enter. If you also want to have both the date and the time in the same cell, you can use this method equals to now. You could open and close the bracket, you press enter. That should give you both the date, both the current date and the current time of your computer, right? So these are techniques that you need to understand, right? So these are all ways of inserting date and time. So let's move on to the calculation. So if I go back, if you look at here, I have calculating dates. Now as you can see here, I have installation date and I have expiration date, and I want to know how many days has elapsed between these two dates. I want to know how many days are between them. As you can see, I have 20th of June 2014, and I also have the same date, but this one is 2016. So I want to know how many days has elapsed. So what I can do is I will say equals to the expiration date minus, because the expiration date has more value than the, when I say more value, it means the let me just show you. For example, if I click on the date containing the expiration, the cell containing the expiration dates, and I click on the comma, the value attached to it is 42,541. If I click on this cell and click comma, that one is 41,810. Are you getting that? So remember, as I told you earlier, each date has a value attached to it. So what I need to do here is I will say equals to the expiration date minus the installation date, and then I press enter. This will give me 731 days. So we have 731 days between the installation date and the expiration date. So if at all you also want to know how many years has elapsed, what you can do is you can say equals to. That means you have to indicate in the formula. You have to say yes, equals to year of. So you say year, bracket open, year of the expiration date, so that Excel will only concentrate on the year. That's why we are using the year function. Year of cell B1, that's the expiration date, minus year of the installation date, and then we close the bracket. So when you press enter, that will give you 2 years. So there are 2 years between these two given dates. Now let's look at this other example. We have a certain date, and what we want to do is to note what was the date 30 days before this date, and what was the date 30 days after this date. So what we can do is just a simple math. So we can say equals to this date minus this date minus 30. So when you say the date, the cell containing the date, which is cell A8 minus 30, will give us the date 30, will give us 30 days before the date. So if you want to know 30 days after the date, then we have to say the cell name plus 30. So that should give us 30 days after the date. So let's look at here, let's look at time now. So here we have check-in time and we have check-out time, and we want to know how many time has elapsed. So what we can do here, we have to say, so let's say the check-in, this person checks in at 7 a.m. and checks out at 4 p.m. So we want to know how many hours this person has worked. So we can say equals to the check-in time, which is 4 p.m. minus the check-out the check-in time, which is B14 minus A14. Then when I press enter, I will have 9 hours. But as you can see, it is not formatted properly. The AM should not be there. So how will I remove the AM so that I will only have 9 hours? So I will click on the cell and then I will go to the number group, and then from there I will go to the time category and then make sure I choose the second one here and then click OK. So this will only give me 9 hours. So that means this person has worked for 9 hours. But let's say, for example, the person also have a break of 45 minutes and we want to remove that 45 minutes from the 9 hours. So what we can do is, first we are going to double click in the cell to edit the formula. So we say minus, we use the double quotes and we say 0:45, and then we type the colon again. So what we need to do, we already know that this person has worked for 9 hours, but we want to remove 45 minutes of break, right? Let's say we are paying them hourly, so we don't want to pay this person this 45 minutes. So this is how we're going to do it. So just add the minus sign, put the double quotes. If you don't put the double quotes, it will not work, right? Then you say 0:45, and when you press the enter key, that means you will now have 8 hours 15 minutes, right? So let's go back here, let me show you something. Let's say, for example, in this you want to know which day of the week was these two dates. So what I can do here, I can just come and say I use this function equals to weekday. I click on this date and then I close the bracket and press enter. So okay, so sometimes you will see a value will appear. If a value does not appear and you see a date, what you can do is just come to clear and then you click clear formats. That should give me the exact value, which is 6. So 6 here would be on Friday. So that means this day A was on Friday. So because Excel, the day of the week starts on Sunday for Excel, right? That's even in US, the day of the week starts on Sunday. So you'll see that 1 is Sunday, 2 is Monday, and so on. So 6 will be on Friday. So this date falls on Friday, but this 6 does not make sense inside the cell. So what we need to do is to convert the 6 into Friday. So how do we do that? So first, what we need to do is we have to go to the number group here, that is the format cells tab, the format cells dialog box, and then we go to custom. So when you go to custom, as you can see, we are seeing this 6 under the sample here. So we need to just clear the general and then we type D. So when you type D, as you can see, the 6 is still there. We type another D, we have 06, and then we type D for the 3rd time. Then you see you have Friday, the abbreviation. We type another D, now we have Friday in full spelling. Then when we click OK, now we are going to have Friday. So let's see when we drag it whether we'll have the same thing. So when you drag it, that means we are borrowing the formatting and putting it here. So this date now is going to be on Monday. It was on Monday. So these are some of the techniques you can use when you are calculating date and time inside Microsoft Excel. So I hope this tutorial helps, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.